So the straight-A student who sets the grading curve in class. The soccer mom who juggles full-time work, multiple kids' schedules, and still manages to make homemade pastries for every bake sale. The 20-something entrepreneur that is crushing it in their game and still manages to have an active and lavish social lifestyle. This is what perfectionism looks like if it's coupled with the right energy, with the right drive, and with realistic goal settings and support. But a lot of perfectionists do not look like that. They're the people who are late on assignments, they have a messy house, they are incredibly creative, but they never seem to actually do anything. This is a lot of what perfectionism looks like, and it's really, really hard for people who are neurotic perfectionists to actually accomplish things in their everyday life, because if it's not perfect, it's not worth doing. This is the ugly side of perfectionism, and today I'm going to give you a look into my life and what I constantly struggle with, but also some tips and tricks to help you get over the hurdle of dealing with your neurotic perfectionism and maybe turning it into manageable perfectionism, because let's just be honest, the perfectionism thing is not going to go away. So without further ado, let's get started. So the first issue we most often hear about is procrastination. Now, I know procrastination is like high school and college, like that is every student's thing. But this procrastination is not just about, that one assignment that needs to be done, but you just don't want to do it, so you don't even get started. This is about procrastination on a life scale. So it's procrastination with paying bills, it's procrastination with taking care of yourself, it's procrastination with going to the doctor because you've got that lump and you don't know what to do with it and you're scared, so you don't even want to think about it. It's procrastination with cleaning your house because it takes too many tasks and you get overwhelmed with all of the many things that need to be done rather than looking at the big picture. This is what procrastination looks like when it's a problem in adulthood. So perfectionists often feel like, everything has to align perfectly. The weather has to be just so, and I have to have accomplished this list before I get started on the thing that's looming in the background that I actually need to do. And this is a big issue with neurotic procrastinators. So they'll say that all of these things need to be done before they can start, but the reality is they are so afraid of failing, or even more so, of not doing something perfectly, of not making it amazing and just making it good enough, that they don't even begin, and that becomes their failure. So ultimately, the driving force is a fear of failure, or even a feeling that you're not going to be able to do it to the standards that you have for yourself, and therefore you fail entirely. So obviously, this is not going to work by any stretch of the imagination. This approach will never work in life. So the first tip is to break everything that you need to do into manageable chunks. So the idea of going to the gym seems completely unattainable to you, but can you sit up on your couch instead of laying down? Okay, you did that part. Can you put on some workout clothes? Yeah, you can. That's easy. You put on the workout clothes. Can you walk out to your car? Yeah, I can walk out to my car. Can you get in your car and drive to the gym? Yes, I can get in my car and drive to the gym. Okay, well, now that you're at the gym, can you get out and go into the gym? Yeah, that's manageable. I can do that. Okay, now that you're at the gym, can you put your things in the locker? Yes, I can put my things in the locker. Okay, now you're at the gym, your things are in the locker. How about you just start by doing something easy, walk on the treadmill for a little bit? Okay, I can walk on the treadmill. It's leading up to the thing that you actually need to accomplish. You give yourself manageable tasks, you accomplish those tasks, and then you give yourself another one. And by the end of it, you might find that you're not having to break things down that much anymore. And you just keep going like that. And that's a great way to allow yourself to have little victories through your day. Because let's face it, if you think, I got to balance my checkbook and it's been months since I've done this. It's going to be horrible. I don't want to do it. I'm just not going to do it. It's overwhelming to think of something on a grand scale. If you break it up into manageable chunks and just begin, you will get to the end eventually. So that's my big tip for procrastination. Just begin. Just get it started and give yourself little bitty chunks to do. And they can even be stupid chunks like get your pen. Okay, I have my pen. Okay, get your calculator. Like, they don't have to be like, get your calculator and your pen and get all your stuff together, because that's where perfectionists start to mess up, is that they think all of these things have to line up and it has to be just so before I even get started. And that's what gets you hung up. So when you get into that place where you think, well, I have to do this, and to be able to do this, then I have to get that. But to be able to get that, I need to go here. Just say, just begin. What is the first thing that you can do that is doable for you right now to get this done? So the next one is narrowing in on unnecessary details. So an average person can look at a forest and they can see the trees, but they can also see the grand picture that this is a forest. This isn't just the one tree with the leaves and the flowers, and oh, I can see this, and this root is sticking out. They actually see the overall picture. Neurotic perfectionists tend to not see the overall picture. They get hung up on details. So instead of prioritizing the actions that will actually move them forward in whatever their goal is or whatever project they have to do, they get hung up on small things that are really inconsequential and won't help them in any way, shape, or form. So the way that I deal with this is to kind of approach it the same way I approach procrastination, which is to write the main goal down, the overall picture of what I need to see, and then to break it down into manageable tasks, and then see if any of those tasks can be dropped without affecting the whole picture. So it's very much like dealing with procrastination. It's the same idea. Just break it down into manageable steps and make sure that you're not focusing on things that really aren't going to do anything for you. So the next one is unattainably high goals. And this is the one that's a real killer for not just you, but for your personal relationships. Because when you're a perfectionist, you tend to not just have unattainably high goals for yourself, unattainably high standards for yourself, but you tend to push those standards out onto the people that are around you. So that's your coworkers, that's your friends, that's your family, that's your kid, and it's arrogant to set standards for somebody else to live their life. So that's just a thing that you have to say to yourself that's very arrogant. But it's also damaging to your relationship because you can't even attain your standards. Your standards are out of control, and yet you're pushing them onto the people around you, which makes the people around you feel like they're not good enough, that they can never do enough, they can never be enough, that you're never really happy with them. And that ruins your relationships. That puts a real strain because people don't want to feel like they're never good enough around a person that they care about. It's horrible to feel that way. You carry that with you every day, and I bet you feel horrible about it, and then you put it on to other people. It's kind of that thing where it's like misery loves company. You have to think, I'm not being kind to them when I do this. I'm not being kind to them by putting these kinds of standards on them. And that's not to say you shouldn't have standards at all. You absolutely need to have standards, but your standards should be attainable for everyone, and that includes you. You aren't being kind to yourself when you give yourself goals or standards that you absolutely will never be able to reach 100%. It's not fair to you, it's not kind, and it really keeps you in a place where you feel like you're never enough. So don't do that to yourself, and don't do it to your family. My advice is just to take whatever thing you're hyper-focused on, and I know that you're hyper-focused on it because I do the same thing, and see if you can let 30% of that high standard for whatever this thing is go. For me, it's like, I like it when the floors are clean. I have 3 dogs, all of them shed, and we have a largish house that collects dust. I like the floors to be clean. So what can I manage? I'm not going to be able to sweep, vacuum, and mop every single day. That's insane, and it's insane to ask anyone else to help me with that goal because that's ridiculous. So what can I do? All right, well, I can push around the little, we have like a little Swiffer microfiber thing. I can push that around once a day. And then maybe I can mop once a week. So I push that around once a day. When it gets really bad, I'll actually bust out the vacuum cleaner and get all the corners and everything. And then once a week I'll mop. That's me taking it down about 30%. Whereas like my initial thought would be like, if there are any visible specks of dirt or mud on the floor, I need to bust out the mop every single time, which means that's going to happen every single day. I need to bust out the vacuum cleaner every single day because if there's hair, I can't handle that. That's me taking it down a notch, and that's me making it something that's attainable for everyone in the house. We can all push that little Swiffer around. It takes 2 seconds and it's really easy. It keeps all of us sane. So instead of me having this unreasonable expectation for everyone to be as anal retentive about the floors as I am saying, okay, as long as like it's not obvious that there's hair everywhere, I can manage. I can deal with that. So that's my advice for unattainable standards, is just to try taking it down 20 to 30% and see if that's a high enough standard for you to feel good about it without going crazy with it. So last but not least, this one is the nothing is ever enough fear of failure. This is the one that I think drives everything else, is feeling like you're never good enough. There's no point in trying. There's a fear of failure there. So if you start and you feel like you're not able to do it perfectly, then what's the point? So for this one, you have to retrain yourself to look at your successes, not just your failures, and to understand that those failures aren't about you being less than. They aren't about you being, not worth time and effort. They aren't about you being a weak person or a person that's not good enough. They're just failures. Reframing it that way will actually help you. And it's not to say that that's going to help you overnight, but you are able to train your brain how to react to situations. If you take the time and say, okay, this was my failure today, but it's not really a failure because I learned X, Y, Z. Or if you are able to be honest with yourself, and if you are honest with yourself, you can find things that you're good at, not just things that you're bad at. So one thing that you can do for a while, and this is going to feel like super kindergarten-y, but you can practice every night writing 3 things you're good at and 3 things you need to work on. And just remember that just because you're writing out the things that you need to work on doesn't mean that that's what you focus on necessarily. And just remember, you deserve to feel good about yourself. You deserve to feel like you're good enough, and you deserve to feel loved. And there's nothing wrong with those things. It doesn't mean that you're not able to move forward and to reach higher standards than you were before. It just means that you're going to be gentle with yourself and try to remember that you're not just working on the things that you need to improve at, that you're also good at things, and you can take the time to enjoy the fact that you are good at things. There's nothing wrong with that. The only person who's able to make a difference in your life as far as how you feel about you is yourself. The great news is that the mind is easily retrained. So something that might send you into, a dark room in the fetal position right now will eventually become easier for you if you just give yourself the time and the patience to retrain yourself to be gentle about the things that you need to work on, and to not think that it's the end of the world and that you're not a good person and that you're not good enough and you're not smart enough to figure things out. You have to learn how to be gentle with yourself, and you have to give yourself the time that it takes to retrain yourself and go easy on yourself during that process. I would love to hear how you tackle your own neurotic perfectionism, and any tips or tricks that actually work for you. Please put them in the comment box below. I would love to start an open dialogue about these kinds of issues, because I feel like people are ashamed to show this side of themselves, and I can kind of understand why. Like, it's not fun to talk about. It's hard for us to admit when something is not attractive, but it's still part of our world. But if we can have these conversations with each other and we can all be open about the things that work for us, then hopefully in the future, our kids and our kids' kids won't have to worry about saying things like, I need a personal health day because I'm going a little bit batty, or I'm feeling a little bit depressed today and I need a little bit of extra support. Like, there's no reason for any of us to feel ashamed about the way that our brains operate. There's absolutely no reason, and yet we're over here hiding the little things that we think about and the things that we obsess over because we think nobody wants to hear this. Nobody is going to want to hang out with me if I tell them that I suffer from a depressive disorder, or if I tell them that I'm obsessive compulsive because it's weird and people don't like weird. No, we're all weird. We all have our own little peccadillos. So I think if we're open with each other and if we allow other people to be kind of privy to some of the things that we're dealing with, I feel like we might find more of a community with each other, and we might be able to support each other even more than we thought possible. As always, thank you so much for watching this video. I really appreciate it when you guys are a part of my little world. Please hit that subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the little bell that will actually tell you when I release new video content. You can find me elsewhere on social media at ojoliexox, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Pinterest, all of that business. You can also find me at o-jolie.com. All right, that's all I got. Bye, guys. Mwah.